Welcome everyone to the Reading Ride Corner. I'm your host Leanne. If this is your first time here, pull up a seat, sit down, let's talk about this book. If you've been here before, you know the drill. We are talking about, in this non-spoiler part of the review, The Tommyknockers by Stephen King. This is a standalone story, and it's a thick one, over 730 pages, 40 pages. Yeah, 747 pages. Like, this is a thick boy. And it's also a very damaged boy. No, I did not do this. It was like this when I received it from my mom, because this thing is as old as I am. Okay. Like back when books cost $6 to buy, okay? Okay. Okay. Now about the book. Tommyknockers, knocking at the door. Why don't we read this book? It's a book by Stephen King, and I've read it before, so I decided to read it again for this channel. Late last night, and the night before, Tommyknockers knocking at the door. Something was happening in Bobby Anderson's idyllically small town of Haven, Maine. Something that gave every man, woman, and child in town powers far beyond ordinary mortals. Something that turned the town into a death trap for all outsiders. Something that came from a metal object buried for millennia that Bobby accidentally stumbled across. It wasn't that Bobby and the other good folks of Haven had sold their souls to reap the rewards of the most deadly evil of the side of hell. It was more like a diabolical takeover, an invasion of body and soul and mind. Da 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 da. Bobby found something in her property that took control of her life. She had not known what would happen, but she moved forward because of this unexplainable urge within her. Jim watched her change from the person he knew to someone he didn't, and he could do nothing about it. Setup of the main characters took a long time to be established. Jim and Bobby took a lot of pages to reveal their motives and how they worked. The minor characters only took about 1 or 2 chapters to explore their motives and how they worked. And let me tell you, this is a thick boy. Like, the first part, I think this thing has like a couple parts to it. I don't remember how many parts it had. No, that's, I think it's 3 parts. Yeah. It says it's book 3, like book 1, book 2, and book 3. So like that's book 3, and I'm pretty sure, yeah. This, okay. So basically, book 1, book 2, somewhere in the middle, and book 3. So these right here are a lot of stuff. Book 1 was mainly the setup of Bobby Anderson and Jim Gardner. Book 2 was mainly the setup of how the town reacted to their changing ways, and then book 3 was the ending of how the Tommyknockers were taking over and everything. So yeah. That's like, oh, it's more of it's coming apart. This poor book. So it's falling apart on its own. So, yeah, it has a lot. The characters react to the situation in weird ways. At first, some of them are happy about the changes that happen, and then regret and sadness comes along. Others were happy and never stopped being happy. Only one was sad from the very beginning. 3 of them didn't understand what was happening, as it didn't actually happen to them. And everybody else around them, and they're like, what's going on? Why are you? And they're all becoming. The genre is considered to be science fiction. Did this live up to my expectation? Yes, it is a good spin on the science fiction genre. Which character did I relate to the most? None of them. I related to none of them. Which secondary character stood out the most? Eve Hillman. His only concern was his grandchildren. He didn't care about what would happen to him. He didn't care about his daughter and son. It was his grandchildren that he was really focused on taking care of and loving. what was more important, the characters, the plot? The plot for the most of it, and some characters for the rest of it. Like, yeah, that's all I'll say. Too many voices in this one, as most characters get a spotlight. It did not affect my rating at all. Should you go and read the story? Yes, if you like Stephen King and science fiction and mystery and a slight tinge of horror. Yeah. Read it. Go ahead. It's good. Might be thick and might take you a while, but it's good. It's good, it's good, it's good, it's good. It's good. Alright, in this book you meet the main character, side characters, important recurring characters. And there's a lot of important recurring characters and a lot of side characters. But there are too many to list, so I'm only going to import the important ones down below, okay? So here we go. Roberta Bobby Anderson. She found something metal on her land and started digging it out. She became influenced by the dead aliens inside of a ship. It started changing her, and then it spread out the rest of him in the town. It takes most place of inside of mostly. She dies by burning from Jim Gardner. I mean, like, the whole town actually burns apart, and lots of people die, and a lot of people get killed because they resist, and they're trying to struggle to survive, and all that stuff. Jim Gardner was Bobby's best friend and friends with benefit buddy. They were friends with benefits. They loved each other, but they were not romantically involved in a I love you, you're mine forever type of way. He went to her because he felt she was in danger and wanted to save her. He was not being changed by the air or the dead aliens because of the metal plate inside of his head. He died in outer space because he made the spaceship fly into space to save Earth from becoming like the aliens. Eve Hillman. He took one of his grandsons to a hospital in another town because he thought it might help. He was not affected because of the metal that was in his body. He returned to try and find evidence of what was happening, as well as find a way to bring his other grandson back from where he had been sent. So that was David Brown. He was sent to a storage place by his older brother and could not be brought back except by the ship interface. Ruth McCausland. She was not influenced much by the dead aliens, but she died trying to send a signal to those outside of the town that something was wrong with the town, because her doll started talking to her and told her to do it as a way to, one, give back to the community because she was just not like them, and two, it was her way of letting them know that they didn't win. So Hillman Brown, he accidentally sent his little brother away with what he thought was magic, but could not call him back. He went catatonic in a coma-like way because of it. His mind returned when his brother was returned to him. So, yay for that. The aliens, I can't. I don't want to break it because it's like delicate. It's like delicate, okay? So, the aliens, they are handymen that can improve anything they looked at to make it better. They were not good with anything else, such as fighting and making plans to deal with stuff. So when their ship started to crash land on Earth, they fought on how to correct it and died from the impact with the Earth. Their very existence, once the ship began to be exposed to the air, started to change those around them and kill off animals. They were handymen. And they could fix things and make things right. And all that stuff. But they were just dumb about everything else. Everything else. There are several POVs within the story to main account. Those noted except for David had their own POVs, as well as many of the people in the town of Haven and one officer from outside of town. There is just too many in this 747 page thing to keep track of. But Bobby and Jim were major POVs. Took up a lot of room. The first part mainly was all them. My favorite character was Eve Hillman. He did not accept that there was nothing he could do for his youngest grandson. He was determined to do everything he could, even if it cost him his life. It did actually cost him his life, but he was able to save his youngest grandson through the help of Jim Gardner. My most disliked character was the aliens because they, even though they were dead, they were still trying to take over and bring about new aliens, continue tinkering with the universe. It was told in chronological order. Mostly each character had their own POV, started from a certain point in the story, even if some of them were happening at the same time. So they were like one couple. As this woman was blowing up her husband, this was happening here. Let's read about it. So that's how that was. We got to read the perspectives of what was happening to a lot of the townspeople. It had appropriate language for this type of story, the foreshadowing in this is not that subtle. Sometimes it came right out in, this isn't for simple, it said that Eve Hillman would never see his grandson, Hillman Brown, ever again once he left to go to heaven for the last time. The suspense was short-lived when it switched POVs. That's all I gotta say on that. The background is explained too much for the readers to understand. I mean, Stephen King likes to write out what his characters are doing in life before and after something happens to them thoroughly. Maybe sometimes a little too much, because it gives you background on Hillman Brown and how he was always getting interested in something and then losing interest in it a little while later. And how he became interested in magic and how he lost interest in it for a while. And then once the world started changing, or his behavior started changing, he became interested in it again, and that's why he vanished his brother, because he was just like, I gotta make magic work. So, I think it was a little too much. You didn't need to know all that to know that Hillman wanted people to like what he did instead of the false accolades. He wanted real ones. You could show that without all the background information on them. The title of the book meant the aliens in the story, even if they did not have an actual name, and Jim Garner gave them one. The Tommyknockers was something that Jim Garner gave them in his mind, and the rest of the aliens, once they heard it, ran with it, but didn't actually have a name. So, Jim Garner gave them one. It was Tommyknockers, because who remembered it? Tommyknockers. At your door. The cover of the book, my flimsy little cover that's not attached, is a house on a hill with an eerie green glow. What stood out as memorable was the fact that most of it revolved around Bobby and Jim, and it was Jim that gave the Tommyknockers the name to the aliens. My favorite passage from the story is, the thing in the earth was a ship from space. There. It was out. No more bullshit. Never mind never mind the Lubbock lights or how the Air Force had closed its file on flying saucers. Never mind the chariots of the gods or the Bermuda Triangle, or how Elijah was drawn up to heaven in a wheel of fire. Never mind any of it. Her heart knew what her heart knew. It was a ship, and it had either landed or crash landed a long time ago. Maybe a million, or maybe millions of years ago. Millions of hours ago. My favorite quote, Jack, what's yours? So basically, he's like, what's your name? Jim Garner's like, what's your name? He's like, Jack's like, my name's Jack, what's yours? He says, my name is Jim Garner. So, I like this because Jack is a name from the talisman Jack Sawyer. Okay? And what makes it even better is because Jim Garner woke up at the Arcadia Fun World Amusement Park in Arcadia Beach, New Hampshire. Now, what makes this awesome is the fact that it is the same place Jack Sawyer from the Talisman was at the beginning of his journey and at the end of his journey. And I like to think that's the same Jack Sawyer in this book as it is in the Talisman. Wouldn't that be so fucking cool? If the Jack that Jim Garner meets is actually the Jack from Talisman, like after he saved his mother and everything, or even before he saved his mother, that would be awesome. What I thought about the ending of the book: sad that most of the characters in the book died, but happy that two of the children survived, even if they had no family to raise them now. Yeah, I'm glad Hillman Brown and David Brown are alive. That's what I'm glad, because it's really good that they're safe, but at the same time now they have no family because all their parents are dead and their grandfather's dead. So who's left to take care of them? What book did it remind me of? It reminded me a little bit about The Talisman by Stephen King, because like Jack and Jack, that's all I can say about that. Okay, this book, as you know, is a standalone. I rated this a 3 because I felt it had too much information that was unnecessary to the story within it. But with Stephen King, there is a lot of information that could be axed in his stories, but still add a lot more to his world building, because he world builds quite a lot. Quite a lot of world building. I will see you next illusion.